Jay and Shira Rudderman, recipients of the Jerusalem Post Lifetime Achievement Award for 2022, for their tireless championing of the inclusion of people with disabilities into society, and for strengthening the relations between Israel and the American Jewish community, in recognition of more than 2 decades of profound leadership, innovation, and advocacy in civil society. Jay Rudderman was born in Boston, Massachusetts. He is a visionary social activist who has dedicated his life to creating an equal and fair society for all. He has also had an enormous impact on how Hollywood views authentic representation and has advocated policy change on inclusion issues on several fronts. Shira Rudderman was born in Israel. In the past 20 years, she has led many groundbreaking initiatives that have affected the professional fields of inclusion, Israel-American Jewish relations, the Israeli government, civil society, and the philanthropy community.
We just have to inspire people that a more inclusive community is better for all of us. And so I think we have to look at people with disabilities and say they're people. They have a Jewish soul, just like we do, and they have the right to be included.
If we address faith and inclusion, I think we'll experience better inclusion in many parts of our society.
Jay and Shira have succeeded in creating a more tolerant, just, and flourishing society, while shaping the awareness of the Israeli mindset of the vital connection between Israel and American Jewry. It is time that we all share our appreciation of you, Jay and Shira, for inspiring us to do good for our society and the Jewish people, now and always.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jay and Shira Rudderman, the recipients of the Jerusalem Post Lifetime Achievement Award. So Jay, Shira, Jay, you got a microphone over there. Thank you so much for being with us. And thanks to our audience for toning it down a bit. We appreciate it. Jay, let me start with you. You grew up in Boston to a Zionist family, and I'm curious what drew you to become a social activist? Who inspired you along the way? What brought you to try to strive to achieve what you've been fighting for?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Jerusalem Post, the leadership, for this award. It's a great honor. I think I grew up in an unusual Jewish family in that we were real Zionists. My father's cousins made Aliyah in 47 and 48, so we always had a strong connection to Israel. And I remember distinctly in 1982, on the first Lebanon War, where my dad said, listen, Israel's at war, I'm leaving to help out. However, if I have to deliver mail or pick up the garbage, and, do you want to come with me? So that's the household that I grew up in. And Israel's just been such a strong part of my life. Of course, when I met Shira and got married and started a family there, it became even stronger. I think in terms of being a social activist, it wasn't my plan in life. I mean, I'm a lawyer. I was involved in the political world. And I think that as I got involved in philanthropy, I realized that being an activist was a way to amplify our philanthropy.
So Shira, you're an Israeli-born American citizen. Tell us about the U.S.-Israel relationship. That's one of the pillars of the Foundation's activities, and the challenges that you identify, as well as key elements that drive the work to promote those ties so they can continue to thrive.
So I'll just join Jay and say thank you. We are truly, truly humbled by this opportunity to be here with you today. So I would start by saying that I do not take Israel for granted. For me, Israel is probably one of the most important things that exist and a big part of my identity. And I can share with you a story that when I was in 11th grade, they take delegations to Poland for us to learn about the Holocaust. And in that moment, because my family did not survive the Holocaust. We're not part of it. I'm a Sephardic Jew, that I felt very removed from the Holocaust story. And standing there made me understand that for the rest of my life, every day, I should find opportunities to dedicate my time to strengthen Israel as a Jewish state, to make Israel a pillar in conversation for Jewish people. And when we speak about Jewish people, I do not refer to Jewish peoplehood necessarily. I refer to the fact that if you go almost 80 years ago, we just celebrated the 125 years to the first Zionist Congress. We had a shared goals by Theodore Herzl to build a country. And today, 75 years after, I feel like one of our main goals together here is to create a new shared goal for the Jewish people.
Wow. So Jay, the Rudderman family's foundation, other pillar, we spoke about the Israel-U.S. relationship, and we saw some of the images of the members of Knesset that you bring to the United States to just educate people. I think a lot of, they just don't know what Shira was talking about. But another pillar of focus is inclusion for people with disabilities. Why was this important for you to get involved in? And where do you see the greatest impact and potential growth in that field today?
Well, first of all, I have to give all credit to Shira because she's the one that started us down this road of disability inclusion in the Boston Jewish Day Schools. But when we got involved almost 2 decades ago, philanthropy towards people with disabilities was segregationist. Sheltered workshops, segregated housing, and so forth. And I think because of my background in politics and law, I looked at it as a civil rights issue. And so that's what we've always pushed for inclusion. Our biggest investment was probably a partnership with the Israeli government and the Joint to make sure that Israeli society is inclusive for people with disabilities. But I think that the biggest impact, I would have to say, was our involvement in Hollywood. Because I think we're all shaped by the stories that we see on TV and in film and streaming. And historically, people with disabilities have been portrayed not by people who have those disabilities. In fact, in the last 30 years, half of the men that have won the Oscar for Best Actor have won for playing a role of a disability. So we got involved in...
And people who did not have disabilities.
Right. Exactly. And so we got involved in first criticizing Hollywood and then working with studios, and we were able to get Sony, Paramount, CBS, and the fourth one, Shira? Universal, NBC, to agree to audition actors with disabilities for all their roles. So I think that will have the longest lasting impact, that people will see on screen people with disabilities playing roles of disabilities, and it'll reduce the stigma that we see towards disability.
If I may add, just to say, Yaakov, today we use the word diversity and authenticity, which we started to use 20 years ago as part of inclusion. People say, yeah, inclusion, it's amazing, diversity is amazing, but not when it comes to people with disability, not when it comes to Hispanic, and today, the amazing part of the impact is that you do not need to explain the word inclusion and authenticity because disability is part of diversity.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I want to ask both of you, longtime philanthropists, members of the philanthropic community, and your focus on promoting social change and positive impact. So there's people who are listening to us right now here in Gotham Hall, as well as watching our live feed at jpost.com. If you want to have impact as a social entrepreneur, what tips would you give them? Maybe we'll start with Jay.
Well, first of all, I would say go narrow and deep. Whatever issue you care about, whatever you're passionate about, focus on that issue and be very specific about what you're going after. Second, connect with like-minded people. I don't think it's all about money. In fact, our greatest activism in the world of entertainment costs very little money at all. So I think it's about being focused, keeping your eyes on the prize, and just, following your passion and not giving up, because you never know when you're going to have success.
And Shira?
I'll say philanthropy today is one of the most amazing things people can be part of. Think about any issue, any sector, the business, the public, the non-profit world, that philanthropy is not part of it. Therefore, I think that one of the things we need to concentrate, as Jay said, we need to understand how we build better, efficient systems together, because no issue can be done alone. None of us can take any issue alone, from environment to sustainable models to mental health. It's big issues. Number two, the more money we have in the business world, it's more money that we can have in philanthropy, because it's the other coin of the business. And we need to find ways to bring our funders, our colleagues, our friends, to cooperate, to work together, to put ego aside. We have to understand that the issues are bigger than us. And most importantly for us is that we support people, not just ideas. If we have right people that are passionate and dedicated and willing to be persistent, not to be afraid to be outside of the box. I can tell you, inclusion or U.S.-Israel relationship for Israelis was not a sexy or important issue 20 years ago. And today, I think people pay more attention. So be persistent with your idea, work hard, don't try to be popular for the sake of being known. Try to be true to your values and stick to your beliefs and work hard.
Well, I mean, you're definitely doing that by, you're a model example of U.S.-Israel relationship coming together, right? The Israeli and the American. So I want to thank Shira, Jay Rudderman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the prize. Toda raba.
Thank you.
Thank you
Honored.
so much.